You're rocking with the best. You're rocking with the best.
Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a great show for you lined up. First, let's talk about how one congressional Republican is seeking to eliminate the Congressional Diversity Office We'll talk a little bit about that and why there's this ongoing attack against diversity coming from the federal government. We'll have that conversation. Also, is Trump January 6th indictment justice for black voters? Now, this is coming based on an article that we found on the Griot, but it's asking a key question, as some in the black voter space are saying that his indictment is a sign that things could possibly get better for black voters. What do you think? We'll have that conversation. And then later on, we'll talk about how the alphas believe that others should follow their lead of leading Florida after they made the announcement that the 2025 convention will not be taking place in the state. Do you agree or disagree? We got that and a whole lot more. So stay with us. We got a lot to cover on this final day of the week. It's Friday right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Happy Friday, folks. Happy Friday. If you're just tuning in, you know that we are streaming right now on blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. Also, if you are checking this out and you did not know, we are actually on Amazon News that you can find on your Roku TV. So we're streaming. Black Star Network is streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Amazon News. And you can just tell Alexa, pull up Black Star Network. And guess what, folks? You see me, you know. There you go. But make sure y'all tune in on there. Also, we're streaming live on 2 social media platforms on our Facebook page. Make sure y'all check us out under Roland Martin's Facebook page. And we are also on YouTube, where you can follow us on Roland Martin YouTube page as well, as we have this conversation. And big shout out to the Culture crew right now that's just convening and joining in. There we go. Brother Damon Blissett, pastor of the Block Church, is in the building, or in the chat at least. There we go. Jacqueline Boateng, good to connect with you. Good to see you. Janelle Fields, my sister, always good to hear from you. We got Angie Brown checking in. Hello, Angie Brown. Good to connect with you. Tiana, hey, y'all. Hey, Tiana, how are you? Pretty Brown Mimi, 726. Happy Friday for Raji and Culture Crew. How about that? Happy Friday, Mimi. Good to connect with you. And McCole, you are checking in as well. All my sisters always check in first, man. Got to shout out all the women that always support us here on The Culture. I know we got a whole lot of women Culture crew members, so big shout out to all the ladies out there, and to all the brothers and fellas out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. But folks, if you haven't had a chance to join us, to be a part of the discussion, make sure you log in and check us out on Roland Martin's YouTube page as we're streaming live, and you can be a part of the chat right there on YouTube. All right, folks, let's jump right in. It is Friday, and I am so excited because I got one of my favorite people that I always enjoy talking to. He's always bringing us some insight. My brother who works in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, and he's also an activist, an advocate, an educator, and just an all-around good brother. I'm so happy to have my man on, Brother Shinedu Okorafor Ford. Brother Shinedu, happy Friday, sir. How are you?
Happy Friday, brother. I'm good. Glad to be on.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about where we are with this diversity. There's an ongoing attack, Brother Shinedu. You work in diversity. You've been an advocate for this, for DEI for some time, but there seems to be now a ramped up attack against any type of diversity efforts. I don't know whether it was the Supreme Court situation around the big decision around affirmative action that folks started to say, you know what, diversity may not be the course of action that this country needs to take. But here's the latest situation coming out of Washington, D.C., how one congressional leader is seeking to eliminate the Congressional Diversity Office. This has happened last Thursday, where West Virginia GOP representative Alex Mooney, take a look at this. This is coming from Essence, folks. Alex Mooney, who is currently running for Senate, hoping to replace Senator Joe Manchin out of West Virginia, he introduced a House Resolution 628, a bill that would eliminate the House of Representatives Office of Diversity and Inclusion. 13 other congressional Republicans signed on as original co-sponsors of H.R. 628, and there were no Democratic co-sponsors after the legislation was introduced. It was referred to the Committee on Rules and in addition to the Committee on House Administration. Brother Shanadu, what is going on? Why would they want to eliminate the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, the House of Representative Office of Diversity and Inclusion? Now, here's what he said in a press release. He said, quote, when House Democrats took back the majority from Republicans in 2019, they created the House Office of Diversity and Inclusion. DEI offices have become the latest woke liberal method of injecting cultural Marxism into the workplace. What? What the hell is he talking about?
I don't know. I just
bro. Why we look? Let me tell y'all something about our culture, folks, real quick. Then I'm gonna let my man Shanadu just run with it. Bro, we gotta stop like this. The things that get people caught up is language. When you start throwing out certain language like woke liberal method of injecting cultural Marxism, the language just throws people off. Now it sounds like, just because you want to have diversity, you're a communist or you some other form of human being just simply because you want to diversify a space. So what is going on? Why is there this recent attack, Brother Shanadu?
Well, as I've said, and I will continue saying many times on this station, in the show, it's a lot going on in this country with a shift of power, folks who have gotten educated, whose kids are getting educated. Folks do not want, and I don't want to be specific, but white folks, they do not want anybody who's been discriminated against to have any rite of passage to make amends for that discrimination. It's interesting when they use these words, Marxist and all this. We usually pay for things that we have nothing to do with. We did reparations for certain Jewish folks, even though we weren't Hitler and we weren't doing those type of things. We did a repayment for what we did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki with the atomic bomb. Shout out to Oppenheimer, the movie. But it's interesting when things are done on our own soil, we seem to tend to not remember. I think folks want to get rid of DE&I because it's another reminder of having to speak on why we needed it in the first place. And I think there's a danger when you co-opt the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion into saying that it's a Marxist. And what's even funny about that statement is when you look at a lot of the Trumpers in particular, who show that they are not super educated or well-known, they will just take these rhetoric, these big words, if you will, and just repeat them, not knowing what the hell they're talking about. And that is what the Republican Party has become very good at, co-opting a message and turning it into this, they're coming after, they're coming. It is very interesting, but it's an effort to not admit that there is an unfair playing field in this country.
It is a huge effort, and the concern that I have is that now we're slowly rolling back these ideas. I think the big thing about where we are in this country is that, one, this country is moving faster than the people can comprehend, right? Like a lot of the cultural conversations, the culture wars, they say, a lot of the policy, just the overall attitudes and value systems of this country, Brother Shanadu, is moving so quick that many of us, whether you're white or black, Democrat, Republicans, wherever you are, we're trying to catch up at this point, which is oddly ironic considering we are the culture. Mm-hmm. So when there's the discussion about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I mean, people think that you could just legislate like one piece of policy, whether it's coming from the Supreme Court or wherever it comes from, is going to change people. No, it's the attitudes. It is a shift in values. And I think that's the hard part for people to really wrap their minds around, that at the end of the day, as much as we like to believe that we are quote unquote in control of what we think, we are highly influenced by other situations around us and other people. And I think that's what it is. And I think that, it's easy to shape the narrative around diversity as if somebody is losing something versus somebody's winning something. This is a common refrain of American history, American culture. There's got to be a winner. There's got to be a loser at all times. And this is a competition. It's a battle royale, but it's never a compromise. It's never an understanding at the middle of it.
Not at all. And it's also reminiscent of, it's almost like the gun control thing. A mass shooting happens, and then we say we need gun control, and then people say why? Well, because the kids keep dying and people keep getting shot just helplessly. If we maybe had gun control, maybe that wouldn't happen. Same thing here. If you want to end DE&I, and I am in support, hear it here first, I am in support on ending DE&I offices. If our government, our country, these companies do just be equitable and be diverse, and also pay what you owe, not always monetarily, based on what you didn't do over X amount of years. If you can do that, we wouldn't need it. But that's the thing is, you don't want to pay what you owe. You want to benefit from what you did, and you want us to shut up about it. That's where there's an issue.
That's a huge issue. All right, let's go to the culture crew as we have this conversation about being DEI still under attack, and how some Republicans are targeting diversity in Congress. Damn, man, this is like you back in 50 years ago. All right, let me hear from the crew. Folks, join us into the conversation on our YouTube page under Roland Martin and share your thoughts about this. Janelle, my sister, thank you so much for checking in. Angie, I see you. Angie, you said, seriously, that just blew my mind, for real. I never thought of those situations in this kind of context. My mind is on fire right now. Absolutely. Absolutely. Angie, thank you so much for checking in. Real Brooklyn, my guy, you said for Congress to pass a resolution like this is simply, as the great Chuck D from Public Enemy said, this is the fear of a black planet. And you know what? I would have to agree with Real Brooklyn. Like, they're trying to stop something that is the inevitable. They're trying to stop something that's the inevitable, right? This country is changing, folks. And I know that so we're talking about diversity now. We could talk about other things as it relates to the black community trying to catch up and evolve and to move into space. But here's my thing. Though. I was having a discussion about this the other day, Sinead. How do we make sure that in the course of all of this talk about diversity, that we don't diminish the merits of black people? Like, I talked to a brother yesterday. He said he's a lawyer. His daughter is in school, upper middle class. She doesn't need to be considered. She doesn't need to gain from affirmative action. He talked about that in college, college enrollment, because she's already on track. She's going to a certain school. She's in her parents make a certain amount of money. Like, she's already on a certain track. He said that the thing, those of us who are coming from low income families, not saying dysfunctional neighborhoods, I hate using that term, but certain type of neighborhoods, marginalized neighborhoods, these are folks that should benefit the most from affirmative action in the college world. So my thing is that when we're looking at the diversity thing, how do we make sure that it doesn't become this thing of just a handout, and it doesn't diminish the merits of any one of us, of any adult or young person, to be considered for any role or position?
I think I love what that person you talked to, I love where he's coming from, but he has to also understand that this is everybody's issue. This is all of our issues. I don't care how well you're doing, because I think Jay-Z said it best in 444, still nigga. Like, at the end of the day, even if your daughter or your child is on track, it's about a collective we. If you just say, well, my daughter's on track and she don't have to worry about that, then what we're now doing is we're isolating the problem of our race to now say that, well, some people don't have to worry because some people are better. And that's how you other yourself. Because even if your daughter makes it as far as Harvard or wherever, she may not need the affirmative action, but the whole gist of what this is all about might come back to her, because if she falls asleep, in the library, maybe somebody will call the police on her, wondering why she's in the library, because that has happened before. So it's less really about who needs it more when we all need it, period, point blank, period. And it doesn't take away from, and we all need it, not because we're not intelligent. It's because the name of the game, the name of the system. It's about I can call one Robert F. Smith when there are thousands of white men who have money like him that you can call. You see what I'm saying? It's
right.
We have to be very, very careful, because when you also say, well, my daughter or my child is da-da-da-da, what you're also doing is now you're putting pressure on that one person to theoretically be the savior of us all, because now if she makes it, we're looking to her to come back and garner everything. We all lead with a leading force of this is a kind of a togetherness thing. And we have to be careful. Just because there are some folks that are coming out are doing better, this will happen with many of the children who are going to become middle class. We have to make sure that we don't other ourselves, because no matter how much money or no matter how much social class that we are equating to, we're still niggas, according to Jay-Z in that song. If you don't know the song, go listen to the song, because
the story of OJ, bro, one of his great classic songs, the story of OJ. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I'm going to share with you another part of this, and I'm going to share with you more what Alex Mooney had to say about his efforts to eliminate the Congressional Diversity Office from the House of Republicans. Folks, we want you to join us in the conversation. Post your thoughts on our YouTube page. I see some new voices. Shirley Hamilton, you just said the point that Brother Shanedu made just is an awesome point. Thank you so much. You also said, Shirley, that the information here is deep. We try to go deep, sis. Shirley, we try to go deep. You know what I mean? Because there is so much to uncover and so many layers to this issue. But we'll continue the conversation on the other side. Join us on our YouTube page, post your comments, share your thoughts, and stay tuned, folks. We're just getting started here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. We're talking about West Virginia GOP Representative Alex Mooney, who's running for Senate, hoping to replace Senator Joe Manchin in West Virginia, how he has introduced H.R. 628, House Resolution 628, a bill that would eliminate the House of Representatives Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Mr. Mooney said that the office is becoming the latest woke liberal methods of injecting cultural Marxism into the workplace. Now, let me just give you some context as why this conversation is also interesting, folks. I'm going to share with you this. This bill that Alex Mooney was introduced after the passage of the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, which eliminated the Pentagon's DEI's office. Congressman Alex Mooney, he stated this. He said the House voted to eliminate all diversity and inclusion offices at the Pentagon in the National Defense Authorization Act. The House should abide by the same standards we set for federal agencies across the government, which is why I have introduced this resolution to eliminate the House Office of Diversity and Inclusion. So the Pentagon doesn't have a DEI office. The House of Representatives is looking to take out the DEI office there. I want y'all to just keep this in mind. And the reason for all of this, and I want to bring my brother Shanadu back into the frame on this, folks, and hear from you as well, True. The reason underlining all of this, according to Mr. Mooney, he said these offices start with the premise that white people are inheritably racist and oppressive. The House of Representatives does not need bureaucrats promoting this divisive ideology. That the premise of all of these offices start with that white people are racist and oppressive. Is it that it starts off with the premise of that, or has history shown that to be the case? Right. See what I'm saying? And see, this is that white fragility that Robin DiAngelo wrote in her book often talks about. The real moment you start to bring up racism, the moment you start talking about white supremacy, the moment you start talking about systemic oppression, then some white people, not all of course, folks, but some white people get into their bag, get into their feelings, starting feeling real fragile and say, oh, the whole situation is racist. But you're not looking at history, Brother Shanadu. You see what I'm saying? You're not looking at history. How do you eliminate, and I'm not talking about just from chattel slavery, I'm talking about over the past 50 years in this country. How do you say redlining, the economic wealth gap, healthcare? I mean, we can go any issue facing Black America, and at the root of every one of those issues, there is a system in place to advocate for the marginalization and disenfranchisement of Black and brown and other communities. There's a system in place behind all of those ideas, yet white people are the victims. Go ahead, brother. Please help me to understand.
I would
what
like,
is this man talking about?
I would like to take people back, not 50 years, not 100 years, not 400 years, just 3. Do y'all remember what happened when COVID came? I'll tell you. COVID taught you all why DEI is probably one of the most important concepts in our country, in our world, because there was a disease that we were trying to, a virus, whatever you want to call it, that we were trying to rid ourselves of. And then when it came down to vaccinations, there was a problem. There was talk about herd immunity. See, but we don't live in a vacuum. Herd immunity can only work if many people in your area, in your country, in your city were vaccinated. That's what we heard from the experts, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then you had to remember that Black people needed to be vaccinated. LGBTQ people need to be vaccinated. Hispanic people need to be vaccinated. Now, here was the issue. The issue then became, you forgot that in all of your campaigns and all of your government agencies, you didn't have the right workforce that was represented of the people who need to get the vaccines. So I say that to say we have to remember that DEI is not just a reactive thing. It's a proactive thing where we're looking out at the bigger picture of all things. And I think that is why President Biden signed Executive Order 13985 in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, as it pertained to the DEI in the federal workforce, because we were realizing that we didn't even have the people that look like the people that we want to serve. So how in the hell could we serve? And I think that is what people are missing. When it's not just, I use the pandemic because that's something that we could all relate to. But at the end of the day, when you think about this country as a shared environment, we need everybody on board to work, for this country to work. That's the thing, this planet, we need everybody on board, because it's not going to just be Americans coming up with solutions. It might be the Chinese, as we see the Chinese make the cheapest solar panels that we are buying. It may be the Indian. India is a huge growing democracy currently. And what's on its way? It's Africa. Africa is a large growing democracy that is going through its teething troubles. I bring up this point to say, but if you don't have representation, how do you, if you don't have representation to commune with the global economy, you know what America will do again? Go right back to their sin and try to own and be on top and crush people. And that's the thing we don't talk about. You have an issue with DE&I because you love the brute force of what America used to be, where we want this, you have it, we'll take it, end of the story. Those days are gone.
Those days are certainly gone, bro. Those days are definitely gone. Let me go back to what the crew is saying. Folks, join us in the conversation as we talk about this issue, how there's an effort to eliminate the DEI office from the House of Representatives in Congress, folks. Nicole Smith, you said the facts and statistics like redlining or proving the need for DEI, but I say, let's get our own. We got to get our own. But in a space where if the House of Representatives, an element, a member, a part of Congress is looking for this, see, it starts to go down this slippery slope. Look, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think a lot of people know, Brother Sinead, that the Pentagon doesn't have a DEI office anymore. So what does that mean? That means that Black and brown folks and folks from other marginalized communities within that space, they're going to have to be proved just on their merit, not just based upon who they are and all of those things. But that may change things. That may change things. So what does that mean for the military? That if the military is not open and inclusive, then you may not see that level of leadership. You may not see Black leaders and generals and other leadership members, right? And more importantly, there is not a thought about other people in terms of how the military moves around on the globe.
And,
you lose the sense of value of other nations and other people. You know what I'm saying? Like it runs deep, bro. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I just want to throw this in there. On a bigger point, the military ain't doing too well in recruiting. Let's start.
Right.
Y'all not doing that well in recruiting. And DEI is something that can help. So it's what is your best interest? Or are we going to continue to be that country that cuts off our nose to spite our face? That's my whole thing.
Absolutely. Let me hear from Real Brooklyn. You said, I find it very ironic that our government has to create an office of diversity and inclusion when the government policies are based purely on partisan methods, which excludes certain people. Like, you know what? I think why do you think that the government has to do this? Because I'm thinking it's a protection more so than anything, right? Is that the best way to understand it? Since you worked in that space, Sinead, why do the government have certain offices like this?
Yeah, it's not only just for protection, but it's also to make sure that the government is supposed to be the best example of our society, supposed to be. And having these offices are based on the people who were the lone Black person that was in that place, who maybe made it up, who made it far. Look at Lloyd Austin, for instance. These are to represent that we need more of that in there, that we need more of that to diversify our thoughts and where we're going, and to make sure that everybody in this American dream, this thing that we're working towards to form this better union, to make sure that everybody's included, because the country has to be representative of everybody, as does these government offices.
Absolutely.
But I think, and I've always said this, I think the biggest issue with DE&I, you see it in Florida, you see it in Texas, where they call it wokeism. People who have benefited, if I have benefited from roguery, of course I don't want you to come here and implement laws to stop me from being a thief. I've lived off of it. And that's part of the problem. Nobody wants space for these folks who are, with all due respect, proven to be more qualified. That's another thing. Proven to be more qualified. They don't want to make space for that.
No, not at all. Not at all. Willie Frazier, my brother, you checked in. Good to hear from you, Willie. You said our clapback should be taxation without representation. How are you going to tax us without us having anyone to push our voice? If you don't want us included, stop taking our money. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, but how many of us, hey, Willie, I'm going to ask you this, brother. How many of us are willing to stop paying taxes and send a strong message to the government that you need to do something about diversity, equity, inclusion? How many of us are willing to make that sacrifice and take that risk? You see what I'm saying? Like you feel what I'm saying, Sinead? Like at the end of the day, like look, I'm convinced, bro, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way. If we're serious about it and we got the will to do it, then we should do it. But you can't be afraid. You can't be afraid. Now they're going to get some of us. Anytime there's a resistance to anything, some of us are going to be sacrificed in the process. However, they can't get us all.
Absolutely. And to make a reference to what you said earlier, just to bring it a full circle. Yeah, that's why it's important for that gentleman with his daughter who doesn't really, quote unquote, need affirmative action, but to be careful with what we say, because the biggest problem with if we stop paying taxes or what have you, there will be part of the group that says, well, I'm doing well. I don't need to join the rest of the group and not pay taxes and not do that. We're far gone from the days where it was the Montgomery boycott or the boycott of Coca-Cola back in the 60s and 50s, led by the Dr. Martin Luther King and the many different nonviolent groups. Gone are those days, because now there are, quote unquote, these idealisms of equity, that people are equitable because now you can live in a middle class neighborhood with a 18-hole golf course and so on and so forth, and that's more accessible. So all of a sudden the guise of racism is gone. We got to be careful, and we got to be connected as one, irregardless of if we are doing well, if our people aren't.
Absolutely. We got about 30 seconds left. Sinead, what did we take from this before we move on to the next story? But what should we glean from this? We know that now that this effort is known that they are trying to do it, should we call off representatives and say, make sure y'all keep the DEI office? What does your activism tell you this, how we should respond to this?
I would say that, I would say this to anybody who's listening. Someone fought for you to sit comfortably where you sit. So it is our duty to go and fight to make sure that these things stay. You might not have to go out. You might not have to be chased by dogs, but at least call your representatives and say how important this is, if not for your sake, for your kids' sake.
Absolutely. And I got some soldiers right in the chat. Shirley Hamilton, I see you, Shirley. You said, I ain't never scared. LOL, LOL, LOL. Robin Welch, sisters always want to start something, man. These sisters ready to fight, which I ain't been in a good fight in the past couple of years. Robin Welch, I see you like, I'm ready. I mean, you got the Vaseline out. Come on, just calm eyes. No, that's all good. I'm feeling it. Look, I get it, and I'm feeling you. So, if we're serious about it, like y'all may think I'm going crazy, but when we have these conversations, I'm dead ass serious about, like, look, man, something's got to give. We can't keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, because, folks, that is the definition of insanity. We keep talking about the same thing. And I'm like, yo, at some point, some revolutionary act that has to happen. Now, again, some of us might get caught up. Some of us might even get, in prison. Some of us going to feel the brunt and the consequences. But you know what they did in the civil rights movement, very quickly before we take our next pause? This is what they did. They actually prepared for that. They put up certain people. They backed them with lawyers and other advocates to make sure, like, all right, you're going to be the fall guy. You're going to be the first wave, but they can't handle the second wave, the third wave. They can't imprison the fourth wave of people. But for the first wave, we got you. Don't worry about it. Your family is going to be taken care of. Your legal fees are going to be taken care of. We got you. We just need you to get the shit started. You know what I mean? Get it kicked off. So, I mean, we got to come back to some point, some level of that in order for us to see the change that we want to see. Folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation on the other side. Let's talk about Trump's January 6th indictment. We talked about what that indictment looked like yesterday, but now some are saying that it's really, this indictment is really justice for Black voters. Do you agree? We're going to have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking a little bit about diversity, equity, inclusion, and the latest efforts of the attack from Republicans in Congress. Well, I want to shift gears to talk about the latest attack on Black votes. And this is what's come up as a result of what we've been seeing this week with the latest set of charges and the big indictment that was levied against the former President Donald Trump yesterday over the past couple of days. And now the question that folks are asking is Trump's January 6th indictment justice for Black voters? Now, this question comes out of the Grio when they did a statement, an article about this. And I want to share with you what a couple of the some local civil rights leaders had to say about this issue, the fact of one of the key charges that the former president was facing is a conspiracy to violate civil rights under a statute used to protect election integrity for marginalized people, for marginalized groups. So one of the voices that spoke out about this latest set of charges said that it's not an accident. Take a look at this, folks. This is from Savanti Myrick, who serves as the president and CEO of People for the American Way. He said that it is not an accident that Donald Trump was trying to invalidate Black votes. He knew that overwhelmingly Black voters had voted against him and for President Biden. Myrick, who helped lead the rally in D.C. ahead of Trump's courthouse arraignment on Thursday, told the Griot that Trump was trying to, quote, disenfranchise all voters by throwing out the electoral results, but particularly Black and brown voters. Now, he noted that the fact that one of the 4 counts against Trump is a conspiracy to violate civil rights under a statute used to protect election integrity for marginalized groups. Now, another person who joins us in this conversation about whether this indictment is a justice, serves some as justice for Black voters, is our brother Cliff Albright, who y'all often see on Roland Martin Unfiltered here on the Black Star Network. Brother Cliff said, who serves as the co-founder of Black Voters Matter, he told the Griot that Trump's indictment is trying to invalidate the will of Black voters, feels particularly good because, quote, we've seen in the past where Black voters can be either attempted or successfully violated and suppressed, and there are no repercussions. He continued, it's particularly vindication for Black voters that we're at the heart of his efforts, because what we have to keep in mind is he really wasn't trying to overturn all the votes in Georgia. He really just found the Black votes to be the ones that were illegitimate. What do you say about this, Sinedu? I want to bring my brother Sinedu Okorafor back into this. Is the indictment against President Trump justice for Black voters? Do you agree or disagree?
No. And I think
you said no, it's not. It's not justice.
It's not. And I don't think. And I know we love little wins, but I just don't think we should think so small. I think what the indictment is justice for visibility and democracy. We know what we saw. We know what we heard. I think during the entire kerfuffle that happened on January 6th and before, I think what was most troubling to me as a Black voter was, are you going to tell me that what I heard and what I saw didn't happen? And to me, that was the most important thing for me, because it's like, if we are now distorting the truth, and we see it happen in Florida with, DeSantis saying that, slavery wasn't exactly what you thought it was. We have to be careful with not wanting to win so bad that we're missing the bigger point here. This indictment was a victory for our justice system. At least we can see that it somewhat works, and it's somewhat not always partisan. And it's a big victory for what we all saw and heard. I don't want to just bring it out and say it's for Black vote. No, not exactly, but indirectly, sure.
Right. So we shouldn't feel excited that he was trying to invalidate some votes. My question, here's my thing, and this is why people, when people keep saying, well, why do y'all keep talking about Trump? Let's move on. And it's like, you really can't move on from a situation of such magnitude, where you have the former president of the United States, who's currently running to be president again, who undermines everything from voting to the belief in the institutions of the American government. So how do you just overlook all of that and to keep people's hopes alive? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know whether the Justice Department, President Biden, well, I'm gonna say the Justice Department because it doesn't have anything to do with Biden per se, but I'll say with the Justice Department, do you think that this was an attempt to keep people's hope in and their faith up in the institutions of government, or is this just like, no, we saw a wrong being committed and we're trying to right that wrong?
I think this has nothing to do with right or wrong, because I think, with all due respect, I love this country, but I do think America is a business. This is about keeping the business moving. And what we saw on January 6th was an infraction on the business. And if it ever happens to a bigger standard, remember, this country that we live in is still an experiment. And this experimental business can only work if it's moving. If we have people trying to be successionists and anarchists like we saw on January 6th, then we disrupt the business that this, 200 or something year old country has been experimenting on. And America can't afford it because we're already theoretically losing in other places. So I think what the Justice Department is trying to do is a couple of things. One, prevent this from ever happening again. And two, show people if y'all ever try that shit again, y'all ass is going down just like his ass. And that's why there has been a lot of January 6th rioters that are going to jail. But I think they're taking their time with him. I think the way this is going to happen, in my opinion, is they're going to let him dance, and get as close as he wants to get, and then really drop the hammer on him right when it matters the most, right before the election.
Let me go to my sister, McCole. McCole, you checked in and said, you can't just move on when the enemy is after you. Stand and fight. At some point, Sinead, at some point, I don't care if it's coming from Democrats. I don't care if it's coming from independents. I don't care if it's coming from whoever. These lies that are being perpetuated by Republicans and those who think like certain Republicans, they have to be addressed, bro. You can't just move on. It's like you being in a relationship with somebody and they do something that's really egregious. They disrupt. They make you question the trust. They make you question whether you are valuable. And you could try to move on from that situation. You could try to act like you didn't hear them saying certain things or didn't do certain things, but it's already present inside of you. You can't just, I know for me, when my growth and development at this stage of my life, bro, I got to bring shit to your attention right then and there. I got to bring it up because I can't sleep at night. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't eat my cereal in the morning in peace because I'm thinking about shit like, man, I gotta talk about this and let this person know. At least I got to get certain things off my chest. And I feel like that's the relationship that a lot of people want us to have, where we just like, oh, cool, let's just go along, get along. Don't worry about it. It'll work itself out. And I'm saying to Black America, bro, we're not at peace, man. You can't have all this stuff happening. People talking bad about who you are. They questioning your identity. They want to diminish and devalue your history. And you want us to keep moving forward like nothing is happening. Like, well, I mean, it's going to work itself out. Let's not even think about that. Let's just keep. I can't, bro. At a certain point, I can't. We can't talk about Trump and then not talk about whether we should still have trust in the system. Right. We can't talk about Trump and not talk about, okay, does the Black vote still matter? You got to talk about this. Like, when do we actually address the big ass elephant in the room?
And not to reference, but I seem to do this every time I go on, to tie this into the previous conversation. Can we also have the conversation of all of the Trump acolytes who have now recanted? Let's talk about that too, because where the hell were y'all? You see Alyssa Farah Griffin, who's on The View. You see, I think, Mike Pompeo. You see John Bolton. You even see Chris Christie. But you all were acolytes of this man.
Come on.
And then,
hey, bro, that's the part. Oh, come on, bro. Go ahead.
Now,
right,
y'all are champions of freedom. Like, you all are mavericks, and it's about this country, and Trump went too far. See, I think the okie doke that white people get to play because of their power is they get to, this is my opinion, and I've said this 100 times. Mitch McConnell, all he and his cronies, all they wanted was what you see in that Supreme Court, because that can last up until Donald Trump is dead. Right. That and the appellate court judges. And that's what they got. They didn't care what they had to do to get that. And all of those other cronies, why are we not having the conversation that they should be? It seems like there's this repatriation where we should forgive them because they were so confused. Y'all were so confused. Where is that same energy when it comes to anybody else? Y'all want to hang Ilhan Omar to the stake, as well as AOC, Ayanna Pressley, so on and so forth, as it pertains to Democrats. But these Republicans who were literally working with the man who was destabilizing our nation, all of a sudden get a free pass to come back on the right side now that the Kool-Aid has expired. That's fucking bullshit if you ask me.
Come on, bro. And look, you got people like Mike Pence who was riding with Trump on some occasions, and now just recently he's like, I think he might have went too far. The president could have. Hey, bro, I'm sorry. I'm going back to this point. Hey, crew, y'all know this. Like, let's keep it 1,000, right? Somebody is trying to get you killed. You find out the person who's trying to get you killed is your homeboy who's been riding with you, or your homegirl, right? This is street stuff. They trying to get you killed. You find out that they try to get you killed. Who in their right mind is going to be like, man, they ain't trying to get me killed. I mean, they still good people. When you know his followers were calling for your death on the Capitol, man. Y'all and Republicans were running for their lives, literally running for their lives. As much as they talking about Josh Hawley and all that, you were running. You weren't standing out there. You weren't saying, hey, guys, welcome. Hey, follow me this way. No, y'all were running. Y'all ain't know what the hell was going to go on. But yet you going to ride with this guy. And you expect, and look, they expect black voters. They expect this to bring it home. They expected black voters, bro, to just ride along to the madness. Trump invalidated a lot of people's vote by calling the whole election a lie. He's tried to null and void the whole process, right? The electoral college thing. How many of us have talked about the relevance, the need for us to update the electoral college system? All of these things.
And even I would even take it a step, because I do respect the ideals of Republican values. And I've said this 100 times. If you really pay attention, a lot of Republican values and thinking are very similar to what we think in the Black community. Okay, small government, limited government, it's the same thing. However, I think also what this man and his cronies did, which I believe that they should be charged with some type of dereliction of duty. What they also did is they turned Republicanism into something that no one can understand. Remember, this is the same party that had, rest his soul, John McCain, who was going after Obama during their, election. And he stopped somebody who was booing Obama to tell him, hold on, Obama is a good man. Like, don't get it twisted. I don't agree with his policies, but he's a good man. What happened to that Republicanism? And I think that's another thing that Trump did, is now when you think about Republicanism, you think about MAGA and not the other Republicans that have some goodness to them. I would even throw Mitt Romney in there. I'd even be hard pressed to throw John Boehner in there. And that is the confusion that they have caused just to move. And I keep saying, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I think they did all that shit just to get what they got with the Supreme Court. And now that's why everybody is turning on him, because they don't need him no more.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's my final question. I know we got to take a quick pause, but here's my question: that now that Trump indicted, do you feel like, Sinead, that more of our people in Black America are going to have a little bit more hope that the system does work? Because some people, like you mentioned, you said, hey, the system is working. So there may be some political motivation behind the Justice Department going after Trump, but I don't think so, because I think it was just too big of an issue to not go after him. But do you think that this is going to, for Black folks that were once questioning whether the system works, that they will get off the fence and say, no, it is working? Do you think that that's going to happen, that more of our people are going to kind of come back into this understanding that, yeah, America is on the right track?
I surely hope not, because that will be something of biblical proportions, because it reminds me of when Moses took the Israelites across that divided Red Sea, and then they went and forgot about God or Jesus, and they started worshiping the golden calf. I think Black people shouldn't be so confused by one small cog of justice. At the end of the day, this is white people trying to get their own benefit for white people. This really not even though its sisters bringing it up in the different states and jurisdictions. Shout out to Letitia James in New York. But this is really not our fight. This is white on white, if you ask me. And that's my point.
There it is. There it is. Look, we got to take another quick pause, but my man, Brother Shanadu, got to check out. Brother Shanadu, it's always a pleasure to connect with you, bro. I truly thank you so much for your time, your intelligence, your brilliance, and God willing, we will reconnect with you sometime next week, bro. Thank you for being so good for the culture, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. There it is. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's have a discussion. Let's shift gears, talking about what the situation is with black voters, to talking about black organizations. You all remember that earlier this week, there was the announcement that Alpha Phi Alpha, the historic black fraternity, has made an announcement. They were moving their 2025 convention from the state of Florida. That would have cost over $15 million worth of revenue for the state. Well, they have come out to say that they hope other folks follow their lead. Do you agree? Should other black organizations that are looking to do conventions and other gatherings in the state of Florida stop their support of Florida because of the anti-blackness agenda that's happening in the state from Governor DeSantis and his administration? That's going to be the big culture convo on the other side. Join us in the discussion. Post your comments on Roland Martin's YouTube page as we're streaming live there. Also, we're streaming on Facebook. And of course, continue to tune in to us here on BlackStarNetwork.com and Amazon News. We got to take a quick moment. When we come back, that big culture conversation up next, right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation as we are setting for our big culture convo, which is about whether black organizations such as fraternities and sororities and other black organizations should continue to bring their business to the state of Florida. Now, conversation comes out of the big announcement with the historic black fraternity Alpha Phi Alpha had decided to move their 2025 convention that was slated to be in Florida to move it to someplace else as a result of Florida's approval of a new school curriculum that included lessons that some black people benefited from slavery and some of the other anti-blackness policies that is coming out of the administration of Governor Ron DeSantis down there. Now, since the announcement was made, The fraternity's Alpha Phi Alpha's general president, Mr. Willis Lonzo III, stated that representatives from the other 8 Black fraternities and sororities, as well as heads of other groups, have gotten in touch to express their support for the Alphas and their commitment to refraining planning any of the events that would generate a significant amount of revenue for Florida. Now, according to Mr. Lonzo, he said, quote, "This is a multi-pronged armamentarium that we have to provide to attack racial prejudice and policies that are white supremacist in nature. We have here a situation where Jim Crow has morphed from what it was 40, 50 years ago, and we're in the process of developing new tactics to attack this." He also said that we saw in many respects that Governor DeSantis has continued to push policies harmful to Black people, to brown people, and marginalized communities in Florida. And that has been the big reason that led the Alpha Phi Alpha to remove its support, its convention from Florida. Now, if the convention did happen there, it would generate $15 million in state revenue for the state of Florida. And so Mr. Lonzo has put it out there that he believes that other organizations, other groups, fraternities, nonprofits, organizations will follow its lead and pull events from Florida over these racist policies. Folks, I want to get your take. Do you agree or disagree with this? Should other Black organizations, nonprofit organizations, fraternities and sororities, should we start to essentially economically boycott the state of Florida because of their anti-Blackness policies? I want you to join us in the conversation as we have this discussion. Post your discussion points in our YouTube chat under Roland Martin, because crew, I would love to hear what you got to say about this as Alpha Phi Alpha put this out there. $15 million worth of revenue loss for the state of Florida. And now they're looking for other places, but should others follow their lead? According to Alphas, they say that others will follow the lead based upon the information and the level of commitment and support they've gotten from the other frats and fraternities. Pretty Brown Mimi, you said this, Faraji, I'm torn because there are a lot of great Black businesses in my home state of Florida. Absolutely. Absolutely. They could have gained a lot, those Black businesses down in Florida. And look, I think that's going to be one of the big points. I think a couple of things needs to happen on this, Mimi. You might agree or disagree with me, but I think that we've got to figure out whoever's on the ground, whoever is working with the Black business community down there, whether it's some nonprofit organizations that are providing some direct service work down there, whether it's some voting advocacy organizations down there. Like whatever Black spaces there are down there, we should be able to tap into. And I think part of it is to make sure that we don't lose out on the message that we're supporting Black folks in Florida, right? Just the same way we should support Black folks in other Republican-controlled states, to make sure that they know that this is not about leaving you out of the picture. We should still have some presence on the ground. There should be all eyes, some national eyes on the state of Florida. I think some folks can be on the ground, other folks can work from the periphery, but it should not be a complete withdrawal and we don't have any support system. We don't have any additional resources for those Black folks, whether they're individuals, for those Black organizations, for those Black businesses that are in Florida. They need our support. They don't need us to pull out and not keep those spaces alive and well. But we can't go to a state, give the state $15 million. And I'm in agreement with the Alphas. You can't go to a state like Florida that is continually creating anti-Blackness policies, right? And then we give them $15 million as a Black organization. Like the line has to be drawn. Again, folks, we're talking about revolutionary acts here. It may not necessarily, and I know people often think of revolution as being guns drawn and that type of thing, in your face tactics, but those are tactics. Those are tactics. That's not, quote unquote, the revolution. The revolution is all of the tactics used. The revolution is working towards a given outcome. The revolution isn't just a tactic. I'm talking about activism. I'm talking about organizing. I'm talking about engagement. That's a tactic. But we should look at, okay, what's going to bring about that real change? Because that's what essentially revolution is, right? The revolution is what tactics are going to usher in the change that's going to bring us the desired results and outcomes that we're looking for. Because I'm not worried about tactics, because we all got different tactics and how we're going to get to the end goal. But the point is the end goal. All right, we got a poll running right now on our YouTube page. Again, we're streaming live on YouTube under Roland Martin. We got a poll. We're asking the question, should other Black organizations pull events from Florida over racist policies? We want you to check us out. Join the vote from our poll. Y'all want to know what my answer is? Hell to the yes. Hell yeah. 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 Can we withhold money from Florida? Can we withhold business? We can hold some of our money and put it someplace else. We can hold some of our money and put it someplace else. Let me see something here. Let me go back to what y'all are talking about here in the chat. Lana, my sister, you asked, we absolutely should not move. As a member of Greek letter organizations, I don't think we should adjust anything for their comfort. We should be intentional with Black spending only. Facts. I agree with you, Lana. You know, I definitely agree with you on that. Absolutely. Willie Frazier, my brother, you said, man, construction has slapped down because of this immigrant policy. The roofers are gone. Yeah. Yeah. Here's the question that I'm posing, because as the Alpha situation continues to play out, are we afraid of giving pain to those who deserve it? I know that might sound like a silly question, but it's a question that gets and undermines the reality of where we're thinking, right? Are you afraid? Are you afraid to fight? That's the question, folks. Are we afraid to fight? And right now, the fight is economics. Right now, the fight is policy. Now, if you're afraid to fight the economics and the policy fight, we can't even talk about some other fight. I mean, seriously. This is a bloodless battle. This is a bloodless battle we're talking about. Now, if you're talking about what is the blood of this country, it's money. Capitalism is the order of the day, right? But we're not shedding blood from us, but it's going to take a hit. But are you afraid to even impose, to even strike a blow against the state of Florida? All right, let's go to, I got my sister Suzette Speaks, one of my favorite Floridians. She's saying salute, Suzette. Good to connect with you. Glenette Brooks, you checked in. You said we can support Black businesses in Florida via online sales by using a directory system. Facts. There are other ways. I love that, Glenette. There are other ways to take advantage of that situation. We don't have to leave them out there. We don't have to we're going to just up and move and leave them stranded. No. But we're talking about bringing new money in. New money. Do we want to continue to add new money to the state? Because there's no guarantee that whatever money that say the Alphas would have brought, the 15 million that they're estimating, there was no guarantee that was going to trickle down to Black people, Black businesses, Black communities, Black resources. We don't have a system of accountability in place just yet for that to happen. But are we afraid to inflict some pain on people and on administrations and against policies that have been painful for us? Look, we're going to take another quick pause when we come forward. I want y'all to continue to post your thoughts on this as we're talking about what the Alphas has decided to do, and more importantly, how they believe that other folks, other Black organizations, Greek organizations will follow their lead of not hosting major events in the state of Florida. Do you think, do you agree or disagree that that will happen? Do you agree or disagree that there's time for us to do this? Or are we afraid to inflict the pain? More conversation about this for our Big Culture Convo. Post your thoughts on our YouTube page, even on our Facebook page. Post your thoughts and stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've got a great conversation going on right now. Big Culture Convo for the day stems out of the situation the Alphas were addressing earlier this week when they announced that they would no longer host their 2025 convention in Florida as a result of racist policies and anti-Blackness curriculum. And so they say their convention would have generated at least about $15 million worth of revenue for the state of Florida. But they decided to move forward and take that money elsewhere. But they also said, according to the general president, Mr. Willis Lonzer III, he said that he believes that other Black organizations will follow suit. And I'm asking you, do you agree or disagree with that? Do you think that this will be the case, that there's going to be some level of economic boycott of these of the state of Florida when it comes to Black organizations? So we got a poll right now. Right now, with some of you that, since our poll been up, and we only had it up for less than 10 minutes, 83% of you that have voted said yes, that other Black organizations should pull events from Florida over racist policies, and only 17% of you said no. 83% of you are saying yes. Now, look, I want us to think about what we're saying here. Look, I'm in full support of what you want to do. But are we at this point where we are ready to weigh some level of offense against the state of Florida? If the alphas are saying, no, we're not hosting, and then you have other black fraternities, other black sororities, other black organizations that are saying, we're not going to be hosting in Florida, then you're talking about what could have been started off at 15 million can go, that money counter is going up because these other groups. Should we do some sort of economic boycott? Should we inflict pain on the state of Florida to send a message to the rest of the country? No more. Enough is enough. Those days of you creating anti-blackness, anti-blackness, quote unquote, woke liberalism, as you call it, those days of creating policies to combat that, those days are over. You're going to feel the brunt. You're going to feel the pain in some way, shape, or form. All right, let's go back to what you got to say. And more of you are checking in on our poll we got running. The number now has gotten up to 85% of you are in agreement that other black organizations should pull events from Florida over racist policies. 85%. Shirley, my sister, you've been very active in the chat, and I truly appreciate you, Shirley Hamilton. You said I live in Florida and agree. I want to hear from more of the Florida residents what y'all are doing around these issues, especially around something like this. Are many y'all tell me? I'm serious. I'm just wondering. Are y'all organizing down there? Are y'all having conversations about how to respond to these anti-blackness policy? Let me know in the chat. Democra, you checked in and said, I don't even think Ron DeSantis care about those businesses exiting from Florida. He may not care, but guess what? If there is enough groups that are doing it, then guess what? His office, somebody in his economic office, they're going to care. They're going to be like, hey, Mr. Governor, we're losing money as a result. See, we got to remember, folks, the Montgomery bus boycott, it started off like a pebble. But then if you throw a pebble in the middle of a pond, it creates a ripple effect. Now, there was a sacrifice that our people down in Montgomery, Alabama had to make in order to create the ripple effect that led to the desegregation of public transportation, right? They had to be willing to make that sacrifice, and they made the great sacrifice of not taking public transit for a year, over a year. See, we got to have that level of commitment if we're talking about changing something, because this thing ain't going to change in a day. It's not going to change in a month, nor is it going to change in a week, a month, or 6 months. It may not change for a year, but check this out. When our ancestors, our great-grandparents and grandparents and fathers and mothers, when they decided to be a part of that boycott, they weren't thinking about, well, man, this might take too long. The only thing they were thinking about is creating a different future for those behind them. And that's what kept them committed. All right. Jeremy Campbell, you said I'm in Florida fighting now. Talk to us, Jeremy. I appreciate you for checking in. Talk to us, Jeremy. Like, what kind of support? Is an economic boycott something that would be supportive and will be supported by Black folks in Florida? Appreciate you, Jeremy. Thank you for checking in. Miss SG, you checked in. Good to hear from you, Miss SG. You said we have to make it hurt them their pockets. That's what they'll respond to. If we get hurt a little, this is the sacrifice of getting a point across. With this situation, our people are being affected anyway. Right. We got to make sure that they understand that they got to hurt too. Because we've been hurting too long. Too long. Let me go back to what you got to say. Socus Adventures, you say defund the Republican Party now. I mean, that's all well and good, but guess what? What really needs to happen? We need to organize. We need to strategize. We need to make sure that something is happening, folks. So I want to hear from you, Willie Frazier, my guy. You said I'm in the barbershop trying to educate. I'm on Facebook posting election time. I'm going to go hard. That's what we got to do now. We at this point, Willie, and I think you would agree with me, brothers. We at this point. See, some of us are, and I get it. Some of us are uncertain. Some of us may be straight up afraid, but I think that some of us are just uncertain because we don't know what the other side looks like. But I think we all can come to an agreement on one thing. How many of us are truly tired of being sick and tired? How many of us truly are tired of always feeling like we have to defend ourselves when those who are in the opposition to us can go and do whatever they want? I'm tired of being a victim. How about you? I'm tired of somebody I have to constantly affirm my identity. How about you? I'm tired of having to defend my history. How about you? At what point do we say enough is enough? Now, like I said, this is an economic and this is a political battle right now where it stands. We're going to have to figure out what ways that we can take advantage of, what resources we have, what tools we got in the toolbox that's going to bring about some change. Because we can't wait on elections no more. What do? We want to wait till, when does Ron DeSantis, I think he just got in office, what, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago? That man got more time in office. And even while he's running for president of the United States, he has put in place where he can still remain governor even while running for president, even though, and that was just changed just earlier this year. So if this enemy of Black people in our interests is digging his heels into the ground to showing that he's going to be in this thing for the long haul, then what and how should we respond? Come on, let's talk about it. Pauline, heard my sister, you checked in and said, I am tired as hell for Raji. I am 75. Come on, Sister Pauline. I'm humbled that you tune in to us every day. Thank you so much, Pauline. You said I am 75 and shouldn't be going through the same shit. I'm going to say that just like that. Pauline said she is 75, y'all, and still going, and I'm going to say it just like she's saying it. She's still going through the same shit at 75. Let that marinate. Yeah, put that on there. Thank you, Keenan. She's 75, y'all. Can you imagine getting to 75 years old and you still fighting the same battles that you fought and when you were 40 and 50 and 60 years old? I mean, I'm just, let this just sit on your mind a little bit. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine how disappointing that must be in some ways? That you gotta keep putting up the good fight, still getting in good trouble, which is all well and good. But at the end of the day, at 75 years old, you expect to enjoy the fruit or benefits of your hard work and sacrifice. You shouldn't be still on the front lines talking about Black Lives Matter and I gotta make sure my history is not taken out of schools and making sure that my Blackness isn't a badge of dishonor. At 75 years old, you should be enjoying life. Lorna Paris, you said I'm 58. My sister Pretty Brown Mimi said, everyone put your age in the chat. Let's just think about it. Do we really want to pass this on? As my sister Pauline, do you want to pass the same shit on to your children? 75 years on this earth, you've been blessed to be on this earth. And then When you get older, you got to tell your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your grandson, your granddaughter, yes, baby, you got to keep up the good fight. Some of our people, and I want y'all to think about this, then we're going to take another pause. Some of our people, we've been under this same shit for so long that some of our people never ever got out of the struggle. They were never able to see the gain of the sacrifice. That's how long the struggle's been lasting. So they wake up, they're born in pain, in struggle, and then some of our people, the gains have been so far and few between that they literally die in struggle. Can you imagine that? Your whole life, you got to constantly affirm and defend and be on the offense, and your whole life never really being able to enjoy the fruit of your labor, never getting to a place where you can say, you know what, okay, we made some progress here. Now I can lay down and take my rest. Some of our people never have gone through that experience. Robin, you said you 60. My mom was a Black Panther. I'm sick as hell. Facts. Facts. Whole, Brother Solomon, you checked in. You said whole life, that hurts. Whole life. You never got to see the benefit. That's some of our people. And the way policies and stuff is rolling back right now, some of our people are experiencing that right now. I got to take a quick pause. I want to hear more from you as we talk about what's going on down in Florida. Should Black businesses pull events from Florida over racist policy? Our poll is still up. 86% of you are saying yes, 14% are saying no. But there's an energy brewing right now that is showing that we are all sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want to take a quick pause. When we come back, more conversation from you. Big Culture Convo is happening. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
You're rocking with the best.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Man, oh man, I'm loving the energy in the chat right now as we are having our big culture convo talking about should black organizations, fraternities, sororities, black organizations pull out of Florida from hosting their events, as the Alphas has said that they've made that big announcement saying that they're not going to host their 2025 convention there because of racist policies and anti-blackness culture down in the state of Florida. And so they believe that other black organizations will follow suit. And I'm asking, do you agree or disagree? Join us in the conversation. We got our poll running. Should other black organizations pull events from Florida over racist policies? Right now, the numbers are 86% of you who have voted are in agreement that we should do some sort of boycott. At this point, 14% said no. So an overwhelming number of you are like in agreement. Many of you are already checking in the chat and say, Faraji, I'm sick and tired of this. And you even went to post your age. And I know some of you, I see Real Brooklyn, you said, damn, we old as hell up in here. Hey, look. Hey, bro. Hey, Brooklyn. Look, man, we old enough. And look, I feel like, you know, we all vibing. Look, I'm in my 40s. I'm in my 40s. But check this out. Check this out. Can you imagine you know, even though some of us, we have good jobs, decent homes, we might live in decent neighborhoods and all of those things. And when I say that we wake up in struggle and we die in struggle, it's not us individually, but getting us to think much more collectively that we as a people, it doesn't matter if individually you got a little money here, you got a little, savings account, or you got some money, you got some stocks or something. Like, that's all well and good for you personally. But we're not thinking personal. We're thinking collective. We're thinking nation. We're thinking you got a group of people in this country, Black America, that we wake up in struggle and we die in struggle. And the only hope that we have is that we get a little change here. We get a little something here, a little something there. But can we really say that we're making progress if the majority, the masses of our people don't feel or aren't benefiting the way we might be benefiting individually? What good is it to say, oh man, we living it good, if every 1 out of 100 black people are financially stable? Can we really say that we living good? See, the way of the system, I think, in America, and then I want to get you your thoughts on this, crew. The system in America is that capitalism, individualism is much more powerful, is much greater than collectivism. And that's against the nature of who we are and where we came from. That's against the nature of, that's why being a part of this system is so hard for us, because it goes against the very nature. We have come out of a community space. We come out of a collective space. We come out of seeing ourselves as part of something bigger. And that's why it's hard that when we do get money, we have to twist our thinking. And I know this is what some of the struggles that some of our celebrity and wealthy folks go through, that the idea of me making it and then everybody else getting theirs, pulling up their old bootstraps and all that BS. It's hard to reconcile that within our own thinking, because that's against the very nature in which we're born in. We are not an individualistic thinking people. Black folks don't think, and I'm saying from nature, we're not built that way. We're not made to think that way. We were taught and conditioned to think that way. We're taught to and conditioned to believe that is the right way, but look at where that has gotten us. That as much as we might think, oh, individually, I'm better off financially, but on a human level, we can't feel each other's pain because we're so wrapped up in our own thing. And so now it takes us out. It negates our very existence when you can't feel the pain of your brother and your sister. Let me go this. Let's go back into this. All right, so let's talk about Florida. Many of you are checking in. Sandy W., you said, as a Floridian, I have to agree. We have to starve the pocketbook to get the message out. We got to starve that pocketbook. Are we ready for it, though? I mean, seriously. I'm so happy to hear that so many Black Floridians are checking in today. Y'all ready for this? Are we ready to move forward? Are we ready to, like, y'all tell us what's the best course of action? Because, I don't want to assume any one of us outside of the state of Florida can assume what the people want and what the people need. No, no, no. For black folks in Florida, what would work is the direction that the alphas are taking. Is this the best course of action to bring about some change for where you live? Share with me. Talk to me. Let me see here. LEV2, you said, I live in this state. What gets me is people fail to see how it is. Now they see it, right? Isn't that everything? I mean, that's fact. Sometimes, you could be so close up on the problem, you don't even see the problem. You know what I mean? Until somebody outside of you points it out. It's like I said, it's like being in a relationship. You might be like, oh, my relationship is good. Somebody will be like, girl, that relationship is toxic as hell. Like, girl, he talks to you a certain way. He don't let you go nowhere without, you gotta do all of these hoops of fire. You gotta constantly assure him, like, girl, you in a toxic relationship. And in an abusive relationship, y'all know that that's one of the key parts of an abusive relationship, that it changes how you see the relationship from what it actually is to what you think it might be. That's called being in a state of delusion. LEV2, thank you so much for checking in. Cindy D, you say we have to want that unity and strife to achieve it with each other. It's not just I got a hers, mine, I got a her, mine mentality. I hear you. You're absolutely right. Robin, you checked in and said we have to fight for the young people and for generations to come. Absolutely. Absolutely. Glenette, you checking in and said, Florida, check in and tell us what you want. What is it that you want? What do Black Floridians want right now? You got all this attention. You got all of this opportunity. What does Black Florida want right now? How do you want folks in Florida and folks outside of Florida to respond to this anti-Blackness culture that's down in your state right now? Y'all tell me. Cindy, you said your sister lives in Orlando. They hate the Satan. She says the only time he acts like a governor is when he acts of God, when acts of God happens. Yeah, well, what do they want? What do Black Floridians want? Because I'm trying to make sure that we're not asking something crazy, not asking something wild in this whole situation. Davey Florida, you checked in and said, do not flee Florida. It needs to be occupied and fought for. Well, I agree. Do y'all know, check this out. And when does Florida school start? I'm assuming it starts in August because a lot of schools around the country are starting this month. But regardless of when it starts, do y'all know in the next few weeks when schools get started in the state of Florida, as much as we've been talking about this curriculum, and when schools get started, they are actually going to teach that wild ass curriculum about our people being enslaved and how our people had a personal benefit from slavery. They're going to actually start teaching this in schools in the next couple of weeks. I just want to bring this home to y'all. So the alphas weren't wrong, I don't think. I think the alphas are on point. But just to bring it home, to let you know how serious it is, they're going to start injecting that poisonous narrative into the minds, into the hearts of Black children in the state of Florida. That's why I said when DeSantis said to Kamala Harris, to Vice President Harris, that, I want to meet, let's talk about this. That's why I said, like, we can't allow the lie to go unaddressed. You have to say something because, one, time is of the essence, and more importantly, two, we can't just we can't act as if this doesn't impact the next generation of the babies. Some of y'all was like, man, we can't do that, blah, 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 and all these things and all of that stuff. But in the next couple of weeks, that agenda is going to be implemented, and they are going to teach children, Black children, that their ancestors benefited from chattel slavery. Sandy, you said school started around the 21st. So we're talking about within the next couple of weeks. Jeremy Campbell, you say it's going to hurt, but for us to get the KKK out there, chair, we have to hurt, but we're Florida, we'll bounce back. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. But in the next couple of weeks, they're going to teach the babies that black people had a personal investment and benefit from chattel slavery. Y'all chew on that for a minute. Y'all chew on that. Y'all tell me how we should respond to that. There we go. Let me see who else is checking in. Let me see who else is checking in on this. Glenette, you said something. You said it might be time to organize and march on Florida's capital. My daughter and granddaughter live in Florida, and the fact that this is still an issue at 58 years old, we still have to fight. Come on, Glenette. Come on. We still have to fight. In Florida, we got to drive home the point, folks. And whether it's the economic boycott, and I really do hope there is some boycott, because we got to hit them in their pockets. That's what Dr. King has always prescribed. I think that's the other part that we tend to kind of overlook. Dr. King prescribed this for us. But we got to understand, man, that this thing is about saving our legacy. Saving our legacy. And this is not about, here's the other thing. This is where I go back to the point about the individualism versus collectivism. Just because your children know history, just because you might know history, we still got a responsibility to our people who don't know their history. Because those of us who have been empowered and quote unquote civilized, we have a duty to share knowledge to those who don't know. Otherwise, if we don't share the knowledge with those who don't know, then we could be seen in the same regard as other folks, as white people, as other folks who want to exploit the ignorance of people for personal gain. So you don't want to share, you don't want to give, you don't want to pass on, because why? You might gain from that. You want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to seem like you got it all together. But individualism will kill us if we don't think about other people, especially our own people. Let me see here. Democra, you said if Dr. King was still alive, he'd be enjoying his retirement and counting on us to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so. Question is, would we be doing the right thing? We got it in us, man. We really do got it in us. And I'm in full support of any organization. I'm not trying to starve black folks down in Florida. I'm not trying to starve black businesses. But I think we need to do some type of action. Something. I mean, send a message somewhere. Right? Something to say enough is enough, man. Enough is enough. All of us who've been in the chat as we close out, folks, all of us that's been in this chat, we're 40s, we're in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. Pauline, you're 75 years old. I don't think, if Pauline's one of the elders, I don't think we have any other elders in here. But all of us in the chat, man, y'all know, at the end of the day, man, this can't go on. This madness can't continue. This madness cannot continue. We have a duty to ourselves. We have a duty to the next generation behind us. We have a duty to do something. And so I would ask that we support the alphas. I would ask that we put it out there. Look, support any organization, black organization, nonprofit organization, black fraternity and sorority. Let's support them. If they wants to make a move out of Florida, let's support them. But let's keep our eyes on making sure that we support the people down there. So many of you in the chat, y'all live in Florida, and I'm just throw it out there. Y'all can send me messages on my social media at The Real Faraji on Instagram or Twitter. What do you want? What kind of support does Black Florida need right now? What type of support? What do you want to see happen? You live there, you going through this problem, you're seeing this. What kind of support does Black Florida need right now? All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you. I am so, so grateful for the immense brilliance, the insight, and so much that and love that you guys bring to the conversation each and every day as the culture crew. I just cannot thank you enough. The support that you have shown to us here on the Black Star Network, and more specifically, the support you have shown to us here on the culture. So, you know, as we have these conversations, it's a way for us to hopefully to think a little deeper about where we are, and more importantly, think a little bit broader about who we are. So, you know, I'm just grateful. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank my brother Shanidi Wakwa for. Let's think about this, man. Let's think over the weekend. God willing, we'll reconnect on Monday. But let's think to ourselves, excuse me, what do we need to do? How do we help Black Florida? How do we support those brothers and sisters down there, whether small business, residents, whoever? How do we help them? But more importantly, folks, let's think ourselves not as just individuals. We are part of a great chain of people that has undergone some of the worst treatment in human history. And the fact that our existence, that we're still in existence, we're still thriving, we're still breaking through glass ceilings, we're still maturing and growing, we're still moving and shaking, and we're still considered to be a threat in 2023 is a testament to the divine self of who we are. We are a magnificent group of people. So that's what this conversation is about, that we should never forget how great we are, regardless to whom or what. They only come at us like this because they know without a shadow of doubt of how powerful we really are. So I hope and pray that we said something that helped you to give us some better understanding. And I look forward to reconnecting with you. Big shout out to my team, Chris, Kim Keenan, Shannon, and Joel. Folks, stick around at 6:00 p.m. Stick around for Roland Martin Unfiltered. And as always, remember this: never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk on Mondays. Please continue to support us here at Black Star Network, Black Star Network, Black Star Network. Please continue to support us on Amazon News, Amazon News, Amazon News. And I look forward to reconnecting with you for another set of great conversations right here on the culture, on the Black Star Network, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great weekend. Peace.